Pokémon Legends Arceus is a fantastic proof of concept. After a slew of increasingly disappointing releases, Arceus came through and delivered just enough hopium to keep me invested in the series. It isn't perfect by any means, but there is a lot to like here. Enough for it to be my favorite Pokémon release in years. Retooling the Pokédex to require more than just one catch, active inputs to aim and throw Pokéballs without getting into battle, stealth mechanics, and a handful of mounts that open up your ability to explore all serve to create an excellent core gameplay loop. Wild Pokémon are ready to throw hands with not just your allies, but you as the trainer, sometimes even ganging up on you. And they make sure to approach to land their contact moves, finally. With the help of your friends to gather materials, you can craft the very tools you need to succeed. This title also serves as a genuinely interesting exploration into the lore of this universe, reframing the relationship between people and Pokémon as being tense and full of unknowns. For all the good, there are quite a few things that hold this game back from being truly peak. The graphics, while designed with some clear intention, are a huge sticking point. It's supposed to evoke a kind of painterly style, but it's very unpolished. Optimization becomes an ever-present blind spot as well. The render distance is really bad, to the point that one of the new Pokeballs, the Featherball line, is being held back from reaching its full potential. The aforementioned Pokédex requires some serious tweaking, as some of the research tasks are straight up torturous. Way too overtuned. What do you mean I need to see Magikarp use Splash 100 times for a perfect entry? And for me personally, battles are kinda poorly balanced. The new system revolves around a dynamic initiative, aided and hindered by the agile and strong styles. It can get really crazy, and not in a good way. It at least succeeds in making battles feel harder. All of these changes practically convinced me that this was the first title that truly could not be Nuzlocked. I'll do my damn best to avoid failure, but I'm not delusional. We'll suffer some losses. Leave a comment up top to guess how many we end up losing, but don't cheat and skip to the end. After being isekai'd by Arceus itself, we wake up on Prelude Beach to get the leg started. We're quickly introduced to Professor Laventon and learn the basics in Pokemon catching, picking up our souped-up smartphone along the way. Our aptitude spurs the professor into bringing us to Jubilee Village, hoping we'll join the Survey Corps and complete the Pokédex. In case you hadn't guessed it by now, one Alolan Owl is our starter of choice, adding Archer the Rowlet to the squad. Keeping the line free all this time is going to pay dividends, I just know it. Silene has a trial in store for us before we can get the run started proper. First up, a trainer battle against Volo of the Ginkgo Guild. Rocking a cute little Togepi, we're easily able to outpace it for the win, getting a move onto the Obsidian Fieldlands. The first trial is simple: catch a Bidoof, Starly, and Shinx. Because we're being forced into it, these encounters do not count towards our roster. They, and many other Pokemon, will end up helping us anyway. We need to raise our rank to progress through the story. As we catch tons of ineligible mons alongside our roster to rank up, we'll be releasing them to gather grit. This game's replacement for the EV and IV system. With the job well done, we're formally made a member of the Survey Corps and introduce ourselves to the leader of the Galaxy Expedition team. Kamado is no nonsense and cares only that we aid the team in their efforts. We do some more tutorial stuff and head back to the Fieldlands to prepare for the mission looming on the horizon. Defeating the noble Cleavor with a level cap of 18. Each biome is comprised of many uniquely named areas, and each area can provide an encounter. The limited decks alongside the extensive ban list make eligible encounters sporadic at best, but we managed to scrape by with some obvious early additions. Buck the Bidoof on the Aspiration Hill, Falco the Starly in the Horseshoe Plains, Voltaire the Shinx of the Obsidian Fieldlands, and Pennywise the Drifloon from the Florero Gardens join us on our way to First Star. Before we can get started with our next round of research, fellow surveyor Akari challenges us to a battle. Like everyone else from this time, she's apprehensive around Pokemon and doesn't feel like she gets along well with her Pikachu. Pikachu manages to get some licks in before Archer takes it out, proving that Akari might have what it takes after all. Our first introduction to the Diamond Clan is soon at hand, meeting Mai and Munchlax and getting into battle. Munchlax makes us work for the win, nearly taking Buck out and successfully defeating Pennywise. Yeah, that one was on me. It was reckless to rely on drowsiness when I knew about rollout. Thankfully, Archer's strong enough to end the battle before things snowballed out of control. The lore slowly being interspersed in dialogue with everyone we meet, learning about almighty Sinnoh and the old hero. And in better news, we find and catch Clarice the Stantler upon the Deer Track Heights. Acting almost as a prelude to the major battle ahead, we have a battle with an Alpha Kricketune to get through. Alphas were a fantastic addition. Larger than average, always aggressive, and packing some unique moves. Falco eats a massive aerial ace and answers with Gust, teeing Voltaire up to secure us the win. Initiative shenanigans really pulled through for us there. Impressed with our battle, the Great Weirdeer graces us with its presence, and we set up a new campsite too. Talk of the frenzied Kleavor is on the rise following our recent expansion into the Fieldlands, who only started to crash out after being struck by lightning. Valid response, to be honest. Each noble Pokémon is under the care of the clans, and this new incident leads us into a meeting with the clan heads. Adaman leads the Diamond Clan, and Irida leads the Pearl Clan. On top of each believing in their own version of Almighty Sinnoh, they seem to straight up hate each other. Despite their differences, they do share some inclination towards a peaceful coexistence. The power of protagonism will bridge that gap in no time. Our next task is to learn more about Kleavor so we can figure out the definitive way to help it out. On the way to Kleavor's home in the Grand Tree Arena, we continue to conduct research, hitting 2nd star rank. The team makes some good strides in power, with Falco, Voltaire, Buck, and Archer meeting their evolution conditions. Another smart move in this title is that you can choose when to trigger evolution for all Pokémon, letting you factor research tasks in before making the change. As Warden to Kleavor, Leanne of the Pearl Clan refuses to let us see Kleavor without a battle first. Luckily for us, Clarice is way stronger than his Gumi, and we easily pick up the win. Irida and Leanne make mention of Kleavor's favorite foods, and thanks to some brainstorming, we come to the conclusion that a tactical grenade made up of said foods is the way to go. Looking to aid us in our efforts and sensing our sincerity, Weirdeer becomes the first of our mounts. It hands us a mind plate along with the ability to gallop across the land. Now we can blaze a speedy trail over to the arena for a battle with Irida. Voltaire leads against Glaceon, tanking swift and paralyzing with Thunderfang. We turn the initiative up enough to pivot into Clarice, getting a calm mind off before landing an onslaught of tackle attacks for the win. Satisfied with our performance, we load up our bombs and get ready to quell the Noble's frenzy. We're playing a Soul's Light now, aiming to attack and dodge rolling through Kleavor's attacks with invincibility frames. Several opportunities to send a Pokémon into battle will present themselves, but they're technically optional. I end up getting so into the grenade launching that I fully quell Kleavor without entering battle once. I'll be better about that going forward. The energy releases from Kleavor's body, we're awarded an insect plate before it dashes off into the woods, and the Pearl Clan even finds it in them to be thankful to us for helping. Our main character energy is already putting in work. Now that we've shown it's possible to pacify the nobles, our next objective will be to help the noble Lilligant, putting the cap at level 30. In order to avoid falling behind on research, we get a ton more done in the Fieldlands, enough to reach 3rd star rank. Volo shows a particularly keen interest in the plates we recently obtained, thinking about the possibility of us finding more in the future. Oh, I'm sure that'll come up again later. I couldn't figure out when to mention this, but I'm convinced that Baggin is the ancestor to Giovanni with the way he absolutely extorts you in order to expand your storage capacity. Anyone else with me on that? Anyway, the latest developments in Hisui are quickly on the table, as Adizu of the Diamond Clan reaches out to us. She informs Kamado that something's off with Ursaluna, another important Pokémon under the Pearl Clan's care. This issue will lead us to the Crimson Mirelands for the first time, but we've got another match with Akari to get through first. Her Mime Jr. puts up an iron defense, but Voltaire is able to speed blitz it for the KO. Clarice then tanks a ton of Pikachu's attacks via Calm Mind before netting us the win. The new biome brings tons of new potential encounters with it, letting us add to the reserves as we focus on the task at hand. We nab Carmen the Carnivine in the Golden Lowlands, and Gloria the Hippopotas in the Scarlet Bog before heading to the Salacion Ruins. Caliba of the Pearl clan is one of those annoying old heads that has a hard time seeing things from a different perspective, brushing us off. Volo shows up with perfect timing, challenging us to another battle. Togepi is still fodder, and he's also added a Gibble to his team, also going down like fodder. He then tips us off to the reason for Caliba's bad mood. A fragment of the tablet in the ruins was stolen. The thieves didn't stray very far from the scene of the crime either, quickly leading to our introduction to the Misfortune Sisters. Coin and her Toxicroak make the first move, but they're no match for Falco, earning us the missing fragment. The old bat's hardened heart softens a bit as a result of our hard work, and she tells us to meet her at the Sludge Mound. On the way there and in the surrounding areas, we make a few more solid additions to the reserves. The Crimson Mirelands provides Jeremy the Teddiursa, we catch Lilith the Petalil on Cotton's Edge Prairie, and Junius the Yanma in the Droning Meadow. With some more research under our belt, we finally take Ursaluna to task, knocking it out with a couple of Buck's Aquatails. It was pretty pissed off, but it wasn't frenzied like Cleavor. After some medicine, Buddy is back to normal, giving us an Earth Plate and permission to ride and find hidden items. In an attempt to set up a new campsite, we lose Falco and cycle through Voltaire, Clarice, and Junius to avoid more losses before finally taking the Stunky down. I guess our sailing has been a bit too smooth. Leave it to some Stunky to deliver us the humbling we need. Our next batch of research is completed on the back foot following our loss, but the progress is immense. We reach 4th star, add Wumbo the Unknown to the reserves, and finally discover that Lilligant is in a frenzy. It was Lilligant that pissed Ursaluna off. As her warden, Adizu overextends and injures herself trying to solve things alone, working to the point of injury to avoid a conflict. She's nothing like her descendant, that's for sure. Our positive influence on this world continues bearing fruit, as Caliba offers to help Adizu while we deal with the frenzied noble. Bearing in mind our level cap, the team does some training alongside our ever-present research. Voltaire evolves into Luxray and Jeremy evolves into Ursaring right at the cap. With the bombs already prepared, we issue our challenge to Lilligant. The noble dances up a storm, forcing far more dodge rolls than Cleavor. Once she's finally stunned, Archer takes his chance and lands an aerial ace, securing us the win and a Meadow Plate. All of our hard work is paying off as newcomers continue to arrive at Prelude Beach, but Commodore still maintains his stern exterior. It's starting to seem like nothing we do will earn his trust, but we must persist, following Irida to the Cobalt Coastlands next. Before we can get started on our investigation of Firespit Island, Irida sets us up for failure in battle, using Glaceon and Eevee at once against Clarice. Our girl is built different and safely manages to defeat Eevee, leaving Glaceon for Voltaire. It turns out Irida's friend Paulina is a warden without a noble, as the previous one passed away saving its child. She wants us to help Paulina with the late Lord's kiddo. Pokémon touching on the topic of death? I wonder if this is a precursor for things to come. We only catch Freya the Skorupi as our coastlands encounter before introducing ourselves to Paulina. She doesn't want to force anything on the skittish little heir, but she does provide us a lead into how to get to the island. We'll need Basculegion's help. Rosie the Spheal joins us from Ginkgo Landing as we make our way over to Isken, Basculegion's warden. He might be even more skittish than Growlithe, but he does tell us how to gain Basculegion's favor. We have to grab a Dusclops and have it blast Basculegion's favorite meal with Dark Pulse. We snag Grim the Duskull as our encounter at the Deadwood Haunt, and also pick up a Dusclops to progress. Our Dusclops' Dark Pulse makes the perfect snack for Basculegion, who gives us a Splash Plate along with unlocking Water Traversal. We don't even get a chance to hit the waves before the Misfortunes show up and steal one of Paulina's Growlithe. Mistaking the bigger one for the heir to the noble, they think they've struck gold. Thanks to their screw-up though, I can take my time to prepare for them. We catch Cannon the Remoraid at the Hideaway Bay, and head back to the previous areas after quickly promoting to 5th star. With Basculegion in tow, we can make some more additions to the reserves. Clarice evolves into Weirdeer as we explore and catch Dagoth the Goomy at the Home of Trials. Junius evolves into Yanmega, Rosie into Celio, and we even find a Peat Block, evolving Jeremy into Ursaluna. After some consideration though, I decide to add Dagoth to the team. He is a god after all.
What a grand and intoxicating innocence
it would be if they think they can kill a god. Also, shiny Teddiursa! Back on the coastlands, we catch Minesweeper the Hisui and Quillfish in Tranquility Cove, Mari the Tentacle in the Lunker's Lair, and make our move on the Misfortunes. Clover challenges us to battle first, with her Abomasnow getting wrecked by Clarice's Iron Tail. Coin's Toxicroak is also rinsed by Clarice, and Charm finally steps up to the plate. Rhydon falls to Iron Tail, but Gengar proves to be too much. Voltaire picks up the slack and easily takes it out for the win. The little air finally finds its courage and rushes in to defend its friend, evolving into Arcanine and promptly getting struck by lightning. Welp, it's frenzied now. Since he hit the cap of 36, Archer quickly evolves into Hisui and Decidueye before we take the Noble on. Excited to show off his newfound power, Archer tanks Raging Fury and lands a barrage of attacks to stun the Noble, eventually earning the win and the Flame Plate. We're immediately alerted to another Noble in a frenzy this time around, with Hisui and Electrode raising our level cap to 46. The hurdle we have to get past before helping is the Warden this time. Melly is awful. He balks at authority, has no respect for my main character energy, and he's just cringe in general. Adamant challenges us to a battle to show Melly we're the real deal, and Junius is able to easily contend with Leafeon and Eevee for the win, but this doesn't change Melly's mind in the least. In fact, he continues to be a nuisance as we head to the Coronet Highlands. Melly removes the torches from the Wayward Cave, hoping we'd get lost. Thanks to Ingo, a familiar face from Unova acting as our guide, we find our way through. Melly then forces us to battle. His Skuntank hits hard with Flamethrower, but Junius is too tough to be stopped. We also manage to make some progress in between his BS. We grab Cynthia the Gibble in the cave, Quasi the Bronzor in the Ancient Quarry, we set up another campsite, and challenge Ingo for permission to befriend Sneasler. Junius continues his rampage, taking Machoke, Tangela, and Gliscor out with a slew of air slashes. Unlocking the ability to scale the mountainside and picking up the Toxic Plate brings us one step closer to Electrode, and opens up more avenues for research. We grab Lydia the Chimecho on the Celestica Trail, and Kita the Hisuian Basculin in the Fabled Spring. She has the quirky evolution condition of taking a shit ton of recoil damage to evolve, something easily achieved by conducting research on the nearby rock types. The evolution is quick to arrive, netting us a Basculegion, and Dagoth gets one step closer to true godhood by evolving into Hisui and Sliggoo.
This is taking too long.
Melly makes one last annoying attempt at stopping us from reaching Electrode, sending out a Scorpion and Zubat alongside Skuntank. Junius takes Zubat down, Kita deals with Scorpy, and Archer tanks Poison Jab to destroy Skuntank for the win. Adamant twists Melly's arm enough to help us with the bombs, and after some training, we can finally help quell Electrode's frenzy. Electrode's the first Noble that could reasonably take you down, as there is shit constantly going on. The Noble will fatigue itself over time, and we make good use of that opening for battle, netting the win and the Zap Plate in the nick of time. The final Noble that requires our aid is Hisui and Avalugg, living way up in the Alabaster Icelands. It hasn't done anything to harm the people of the land like the other Nobles have, so it's unclear if we're even making the right choice. With so much still in the air, Akari hopes to at least make sure we're staying strong with a battle. Dagoth is able to cleanly defeat Mr. Mime and Staravia, and Clarice takes over to finish Pikachu off for the win. We have a good bit of grinding and research in store to make sure we're up to the task, reaching 6th star rank before embarking for the Icelands. Avalugg's Warden is a fiery dude, considering he's got no shirt on in the tundra, grilling us verbally and then challenging us to battle. Unfortunately for Garrick, his ice types don't match his hype, and Clarice smokes both Frostlass and Glalie for an easy win. We quickly meet and chase another Warden, Sabi, around the Icelands and into Snowpoint Temple to gain access to Braviary's Flight. I don't care how low-hanging a fruit it is, I have to say it. It isn't actually flying, it's falling with style. Like the others did, Sabi challenges us to battle first. She's rocking a pretty imposing trio of Electivire, Rhyperior, and Magmortar, and they really make us work for the win. Magmortar is felled first by Clarice, and Archer hangs tough, weakening Rhyperior enough for Voltaire to finish it off. Electivire is much more manageable work on its own. Braviary itself then challenges us to battle, extending Voltaire's win streak before gifting us a Sky Plate. With all modes of transportation available to us, we can really start schmoovin' through Hisui now. Training ahead of the bout sees Dagoth evolve into Hisui and Gudra,
Oh my
rounding
God.
out the team at last. We're forced onto a small arena as we chuck bombs at Avalugg, dodging the constant barrage of attacks it lets loose from the distance. Dagoth's partial steel typing is a godsend as we chip away at the Colossus, exploiting its quad weakness to great effect for the win and the Icicle Plate. It turns out that helping all the frenzied nobles wasn't the key to saving the day, as the sky morphs into an ominous red tapestry. And even though we were acting under his orders, Kamado has the audacity to banish us from the village. Thanks to the bonds we forged with the people here, we're down on our luck, but not out of options. Volo brings us to a Mistress Kagita who points us in the right direction. The 3 lakes and the guardians that rest within each have the pieces we need to set things right. Adaman joins Volo and I as we first head to Lake Verity. Inside, we go toe-to-toe with an Alpha Gudra, and the legendary Mesprit offers up a trial. As the embodiment of emotions, it quizzes us on our resolve before awarding us its plume. Next, an Alpha Overquill challenges us at Lake Valor before we're tested by Azelf. Measuring our willpower, Azelf goads us into striking it with bombs, constantly asking if we'd rather quit. The strength of will to persist in our challenge satisfies the legend, and we receive its fang. Didn't know it had fangs. Last, we enter Lake Acuity. After defeating the Alpha Hisui and Zoroark, Uxie presents its challenge. A test of the mind from the embodiment of knowledge, and the claw is ours. Taking each piece to the Shrouded Ruins, the Guardians show up once more, forging the red chain for us to use on almighty Sinnoh. Kamado didn't bother waiting for us to investigate and departed for Mount Coronet himself though, opting to add to the roadblocks in our way. Benny is first on the list, with an immaculate pull-up. But he was a ninja disguised as a mochi chef the entire time! And he's a competent battler too. Mismagius inundates Clarice with attacks, forcing Junius to take over for the KO. I'm able to up our initiative as Gardevoir is sent out, pivoting to Dagoth for the KO. Our god manages to survive Sneasler's barrage of attacks in time for Kita to enter, using Calm Mind and Wave Crash to KO. Gallade wastes a turn on Sword Stance, opening itself up to our attacks for the win. Benny then shares some insight into the reason why Kamado is the way he is, but it doesn't change what we have to do. Kamado upped his game, wearing some awesome armor as he throws down the gauntlet next. Kita takes Braviary out with no issue, but takes too much in recoil as we battle Snorlax. Archer's triple arrows do big damage, and Clarice takes advantage of Snorlax's low speed to set up a Calm Mind and KO with Psy Shield Bash. Golem is easily KO'd next, and Clefable is sent out last. Dagoth cares not for fairies, and one Ironhead knocks it out. Forced to come to terms with his weakness, the boss man finally steps aside and allows us to do our thing. Having gone through the trials of the Lake Guardians with Adaman, Dialga speaks to us through him and shows itself to us, asking us to catch it. Just as the dust settles, Palkia bursts forth, and with the red chain broken to pieces, it would seem we're cooked. With some more creative thinking, the answer to our problem lies within the mountain. Using the Origin Ore and the pieces of the red chain, we can create an Origin Ball to capture Palkia. Of course, nothing in this game can happen easily, and the misfortunes insist on getting in the way. Charm challenges us one last time, but her Rhydon and Gengar are no match for the squad. The Deity of Time was an eligible encounter, but at this stage of the challenge, I don't want to use it. We are unfortunately forced to bring Cronus with us, but as long as I don't actually send it into battle, I'm good with pretending it was never on the party. Obviously, cutscenes don't count. All of our efforts have led up to this. The second almighty Sinnoh must be defeated. Palkia erupting into its origin form, and that awesome battle theme kicking off never gets old. All of the Legends attacks are pretty clearly telegraphed, but if you're impatient like I am, you'll definitely take some hits as you pelt bombs its way, ending the leg with a guaranteed capture. Well, the credits do roll here, but no one would be satisfied if the leg actually ended here, right? I know I wouldn't. The level cap makes one last leap up to 70 ahead of our final goal. Gather the remaining plates. We quickly make an addition, grabbing the stone plate from an Alpha Vespiquen, but we don't actually know how to go about finding the rest. Thankfully, Kagita points us in the right direction, telling us to investigate the legendary Pokémon of the region. Mesprit, Azelf, and Uxie are all quite easily caught, which earns us the Draco plate. We investigate Firespit Island again, catching Heatran and obtaining the Iron plate. Cresselia capture in Electrode's house awards us the Dread plate, and Regigigas deep inside the Snowpoint Temple offers up the Blank plate. Even in a game without abilities, it has slow start. Game Freak hates this man. Commander Kamado challenges us to another battle on Prelude Beach, as a rite of passage to the next plate. Kita starts us off strong, taking Golem out and teeing Archer up to deal with Snorlax. Voltaire and Braviary trade tons of blows, but I rely on Clarice to get the KO, knowing that the initiative system would lead to a loss on my end. Clarice is able to knock Heracross out, and Dagoth makes the save to finish Clefable off again for the win. The 5th plate is finally in our possession, and the last plate we can find is with none other than Kagita herself. In exchange for 3 pieces of wood, the Pixie plate is made ours. She was literally using an aspect of a god's power as a cutting board. At Volo's suggestion, we head to the Sacred Plaza in the Highlands. Here he points out a desecrated statue, one that used to depict Giratina, the banished one. He's been acting progressively more weird all game, constantly popping up throughout the journey, and it all comes to a head here. Secretly teaming up with Giratina and hiding the last plate, he was using us the entire time. Side note, do you think Arceus would be flattered or offended if someone pulled up Rock in the same fit? No time to dwell on it, we gotta throw hands. With that Cynthia leitmotif in the background, Volo's team is a lot like Sinnoh's greatest, down to the Spiritomb lead. Junius is up to bat first, getting us off to an incredible start. Hypnosis is dodged to get the 2-hit KO on Spiritomb. We tank Hisui and Arcanine's Rock Slide, thank you Grit, and answer with Ancient Power for another 2-hit KO. I pivot to Voltaire to deal with Togekiss, missing multiple times. After finally connecting with Thunderfang, Volo makes a switch into Garchomp. I send Kita out, tanking Dragon Claw well and hitting hard with Ice Beam before Volo switches again. Kita is dropped low in the trade with Lucario, so I pivot into Clarice to polish it off. Roserade is a free Psy-Shield bash Oko, and Togekiss is back on the field. Calm Mind bolsters our stats and allows for a free follow-up to KO, leaving Garchomp for last. Garchomp isn't able to outdo our defense boost, so we cleanly KO with Swift for the win. Defeating Volo without a loss is a huge boon as our final opponent claws its way out of the Distortion World to battle. Clarice is barely clinging to life going in, and Giratina unfortunately outspeeds to get the first KO with Dragon Claw. Archer puts in excellent work, but Shadow Force's ability to obscure the dragon makes it hard to hit consistently. With Roost to stay healthy, Archer is eventually able to take Giratina. Junius takes over and does really good damage, but Giratina's more offensive origin form proves too much and Junius goes down. I rely on a god of my own and send Dagoth out, use Shelter to get tanky, and end the battle with Dragon Pulse. With a final count of 4 losses, this leg is officially over, and what a blast it was. This is easily one of my favorite teams in the entire run, boosted heavily by how well they handled the harsh challenges that Hisui threw our way. The Rowlet, Shinx, Stantler, Yanma, Gumi, and Basculin lines have earned a well-deserved rest as we get ready to enter Generation 9 next time.